Right, Lockdown's Workshop. We've got another one in. Try something new today. We are trying an old Canon DLSR I've got kicking around that's actually will record at the same resolution I've been uploading the videos at anyway, so we'll have to see how it goes. This is another bike that came with the BMX that I did on the last video. I decided the BMX first because I was dying to get my hands on it. This is a ladies GT, I'd probably say early 2000s, possibly even late 90s bike. Needs a fair bit of work doing to it. Wheels are rubbing, slightly buckled, and the lawnmower's just kicked off, so we'll just break off there. Wish it had beeped to tell me it's recording. Maybe I need to turn the beeps on. So, still filming with the DLSR, so apologies if it doesn't sound very loud. I am looking at for some mics anyway. Right, I think first thing to do with the bike is, what I did notice was we've got a bit of rubbish going on the wheels, so it wasn't clear whether we got a little bit of a buckle, so I think first thing to do is sort out the buckle. Right, let's see how we go with that. This could turn out to be a right mess. So we're just looking for where it's touching. Right, it's touching there. So all we're going to do is just slacken off these slightly. And you just know it, they're a different size. Oh no, they're not. So we'll slacken off that slightly. Slacken off that slightly. Probably speed all this lot up anyway. And tighten this one up. So we're slacking it off on this side, pulling it on that side, and it'll pull it across. So that's it, let's get rid of that one. Right. This one needs pulling across, so we'll do the same thing again. We'll just slacken off these two, but on the opposite side this time. It's a bit more of a gradual one, this one, so we need to feather it in slightly. So tighten that one. Tighten that one. Very loose, that one. Slacken off that one. Get it on, there we go. Tighten that one a bit more, because that was quite loose, that one. Right, so from there to about there, I need to come across with these, so just tighten these up. Slacken this one off. Tighten that one up, slacken these off. Perfect. Spot on. We'll have some of that. Right, like that. Right, so I've just done the same with the back wheel as well. Actually got the other spoke adapter out. I was doing it on a 3.3, but it looks like these using a 3.5. Most spokes are 3.3 nowadays. So that had quite a large buckle in it. It's now running a lot better than it was. That's fairly true, so I'm quite pleased with that. So let's quickly pan you back and into a wider view. We'll quickly talk about what else is wrong with the bike. So there's a bit of play on the bottom bracket, so that needs to come out and pack that with grease. The back wheel feels fine, it just needs cleaning up really. I think I did check the chain, and it was on the edge of being, yeah, it's almost worn through, but it is heavily rusted, so we have got another chain for that. So we'll get the chain off, we'll do that now. Pedals are okay, so we'll get the chain off, we'll take the derailleur off, get that in the bath and get that soaking. The front derailleur I think's okay, I don't think it's seized or anything, it's just really stiff, but I think it's I don't think it's the mechanism. It doesn't feel like it. It's more likely to be the actual mechanism up there that's a bit. It's just very hard to operate. So that's up to there. That's down. It's just very hard to operate on the grip. So I will check, but it might be that we have to suggest switching that. What else have we got? Front wheel bearings are okay. Headset bearings are okay. I've checked that. I will drop the forks out and just grease those up because they are free bearings, as are the bearings in there. Wheels are spinning good, so I'm going to leave them alone because these are cup and cone. So if they're not sounding bad, the best thing to do is leave them alone. They don't sound that bad, so we'll leave them as they are. As I said, new chain. We'll clean that lot up. Looks okay. That's going to come off. So that's going to get cleaned up anyway. You can see how well it's spinning. It's still going. Brakes do need centering, and they aren't particularly good. So we'll have a look at them. Tyres probably need a good clean, and the wheels need a good clean. But other than that, actually, it's not that bad. It looks worse than it is. It does need a really good clean. So it might be as well I take it outside and give it a good blast off with pressure washer or hose pipe or something. Except I think the pressure washer's up at the other end, in the garage. So yeah, that back brake's almost completely seized, so we might have to have a look at that. That's quite tight as well. So we'll have a look, see what's up with them, find out why that's not going. But actually, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as it looks. So we'll start tearing into it. First thing to do is take the chain off, I think. It's not stand in the way. Wang it out. Yeah, I'm using the heavy duty one again because it happens to be there, but as you can see, my attempts to make that stop coming out haven't worked that well. If you're watching the last video, I beat the living daylights out of it with a hammer. This chain's that rusty, I can't actually get it to sit in the grooves anyway, so that's it. That's the first one through, and through the other way. Like I said, when the chains are like this, you can recover them, and I could clean it up, but to be honest, it's more than likely that they won't last that long afterwards anyway, so it's kind of, you might as well do it. Twang! As with always, don't throw your chain away because it will tell you how long it needs to be. And if you throw it away, you won't be able to work that bit out. So we'll chuck it on the bench for measuring later. Right, so we'll get the pedals off. Actually, we don't need to take the pedals off. We will need to get this out of here though. So we'll get these off now. Let's see if you're still focused on that. Sorry about the camera focusing. I haven't used this camera for ages, so I'm letting it do a lot of its. That's not what I wanted. What did I want? I wanted my box that's in the other. That's in here. I wanted that and a small screwdriver. Question is, oops, sorry, oop, and again, tub of bits. I've put my cart behind the camera now, so I'm probably going to have to move my cart. Let me bring you back in a minute. We're all good. Right, so first things first, let's get that off. If I remember rightly, these are normal threads. We'll use the windy gun to get it off, because I could sit here pulling on this for ages and with absolutely no need. It is metal. Stick that on there. Square splined shank, centre thingy doody on it. Where have I just put that down? Where did I just put that down? Did you see where I put that down? I didn't see where I put that down. I lose that, I had it in my hand 2 seconds ago, so it's rolled underneath. Put that on the floor. Right, so square shank, square taper axle on these. So what you need to do is you need to put this in very, very carefully so we don't mangle the threads. Make sure this is wound fully out and this can go fully in. Do it up with your fingers, but then do get a spanner on it. And make sure that you are taking it just a little bit further, because it needs to be bottomed. If it's not bottomed all the way in and you start pulling it out, you could rip the threads out of the crank and then you're into a world of pain, to be honest. So you can see that's gone a lot further, and even still a lot further. So make sure it's all the way in. Stick that all the way in, and then you can use one of them, which is handy that I've got that. It wasn't intentional. Oops. Switch that for a bigger one. That one. And we will then, there we go, and that's how to do it. Using the percussion drill on that is the best way to do this. What it does is it applies tension, but it also applies a bit of a banging force to it as well, so it breaks the bond on the taper. So you could start churning away on that for ages and grinding away on that, and actually it just puts a lot less pressure on it. So people who say you shouldn't do it, it's a load of rubbish. There's no reason why you shouldn't do it. It's much easier and does a lot less damage. And if you watch anybody doing anything that's a compression fit on a car or a motorbike, they'll use exactly the same technique. There's no reason why you wouldn't do it. So, bit old. Don't be writing in your comments, because I will ignore them. I won't delete them, I'll leave them there for everybody to see. Alright. So just make sure with these threads that they are properly biting before you get the spanner on. See, that's only going in a few threads there, and I'm really, does feel like it's okay. Yeah, it is okay, that one. If you're having to force it, it's probably not okay, and I feel like I'm having to force that. In fact, yes I am. So we'll just be very, very fast. Let's make life easier for us. Put everything down, because I suspect somebody might have been in here already and ripped the threads out. Best way to check is actually just spin the crank. If it's oscillating, it's not, that's right. So even though I just feel like I'm chewing the threads, I'm not, because it is centred. I suspect he just wants the threads cleaning out a bit. again. So we did have a bit of a battle with that one. I think somebody had been in there once already and upset the threads, or there was just a lot of residue in there, so I've cleaned them out with a screwdriver. It's an old trick. There we go. Finally, panic over. Stick you up there. Find the spanner, remove. That's it. Come on, off you come. Yeah, still tight. What we got there? Threads don't look pretty anyway, but we're through. That's off. More bits for the spare parts bin. I ended up taking the thing off. So that just sounds awful. Now I'm hoping that's not a sealed belt ball race in there. So let's just clean that off a bit. We're back. I really do need to put a beep on that, don't I? Let's move you back a bit. Right, so I've put some gunk in a spray bottle now, so it just makes life a little bit easier when I'm doing stuff like this. There you go, better already. So it came from James originally, this. It certainly had some use, which we don't mind. We like them when they've been used and abused. Some of this sitter's flipping shed artwork that it really irritates me. I've got another one that's been used and abused. In fact, I might spin this round now so you can see what I'm going to do next. There's a lot of rust on this frame. I think just polishing a turd really with this at the moment. Maybe get it looking a bit better. Does really could do with a clean. Let's get that front wheel off. We don't need that on there at the moment. It's got a quick release on the front for some reason. Can you see that? I suspect that's been fitted afterwards, so it can be easily fitted into a car. No, that's still not having it. That'll be why. I need to suck it off the brakes first. And I should be able to quick release these out of here. It says. Maybe not. Normally you can pop them out of there, or at least pop. That's this side. Come on, Mark. There we go. Wheel off. Get a grip. So you can see that's what we were on about last time with the tension adjusters on them. Right. Let's. Right, so we'll spin the bike round quickly. Oh God! There goes the wrist. That's it. Right, so we want that off there. Can you see that? Right, so we need one of those funny grab tools or a big set of wrenches to get that off. I do need to buy a set of these rather than keep using these silly bike spanners because they're not. I can't remember, it's that long since I've done one of these. I think this is a normal right hand thread. Okay, I give up. So big grips are made for. Sit here all day pulling on that. It is the other way. Maybe it isn't. So the problem with these older bikes, the bottom brackets just get that caked in muck. It's almost impossible to get them off without braying the living daylights out of them. That's it, got it. Wanted a bit of gentle persuasion. Now, I thought I had a tool for doing this one, but just in case, we'll wind a bit on there. Nope. There we are. I don't have a tool for doing this one. I thought I had a tool for doing this one. Is it in the specials tools box? No, no, no. No. Right, I'm not going to make one, so we might have to resort to doing the old one. Let me bring you back when I go find a tool. We're back again. Ooh, manual zoom. Right, this shouldn't be too tight anyway. That's it. So again, with all these, it's finger tight, so that it's the locking nut that holds it. I think there must be a rubber seal in here, because as I was spinning it, you could hear it was squeaking. So it's just loose. I think all it wants is just a bit of, yeah, there's a lot of corrosion in there. Bearings look okay. Do you know, they probably could be converted to a fixed race as well. Yeah, there's a rubber seal in there. Yeah, so it's possible I could drop a race in there instead of that. But, oh god, that does feel graunchy. Right, we'll get them cleaned and we'll get the muck out of it, and we'll see if we can restore that. We might be on a lost cause with that one. Actually, that don't feel that bad. I think all it wanted was just tightening up. So we'll knock the race off the other. There is another piece on the other side. I'll chuck that in the parts bucket for some cleaning. I will try and get the one out of the other side. This one I feel would be a little more problematic, because these are torqued right in. I mean, I could convert this to a fixed race. Now then, this is the I can't remember which way this goes now. I think it's the opposite way. Could be wrong. Share with me. Let's turn you off while I go and check something. Well, things escalated quickly. I couldn't get these to purchase them. These systems of bottom brackets are an absolute nightmare. You've got to use a spanner to get it off. There's such a small lip to get the spanner on. You can't put any purchase on it. These fine English, what they call English threads, because it's the English standard bottom bracket, not the Italian standard bottom bracket, are notorious for getting seized up because they're so fine. It's not so bad with the other one because it's finger tight and it's actually the locking nut, but this is actually hard pressed up against the frame and they really do torque them in. So it's a left hand thread as well, which means it's counterintuitive, and in the end I just, as you can see, I just slammed it in the vise and literally put my foot against the bench and pulled it round. I didn't bother videoing it because, I'll be honest, I was getting a little bit stressed with it. I could have just left the cup in, but I do have another bottom bracket that's a more modern style, and it's a sealed bottom bracket. So if these cups are no good, which I suspect they are because it felt pretty graunchy, then so that's actually moving quite nicely now. I did wang a load of WD-40. The next stage of escalation would have been the heat gun on it, because I've started down this, so we're going to finish it. I could have just left it in and cleaned it out, but I could have done all that and then put it all back together and it would have sounded like a pig, and then within I could almost guarantee within a month it would be doing exactly the same thing again. Why don't I just tighten that up? So as you can see, there's not a lot, but now it's coming out. I've got a bit more to get the spanner on, but it's still stiff as anything. So what I'm hoping is that the other one that I've got will actually replace this. It's one I bought for another job, but then Amazon sent the wrong size. Well, Amazon didn't send the wrong size. That's not fair. The advertisement with the measurements didn't match what was being delivered. So you can see that's been rusty as anything. So we'll chuck that in the parts bucket. It has got a rubber seal, so I'm kind of, you know, there might be some good news in here, and it is just dry. But we'll see. I'll chuck that in there. This is the alternative one. It hasn't been used. It's just been in a frame, but then I realised it wasn't going to work. But that does look pretty much like it will go in there. So what I might do is, you can feel that's rough as anything. I'm going to give that a quick wipe out, and I'm going to put this in. I'm just going to offer up the crank, so I know I've got this as an option then if I need it. Don't ask why I'm there. Can you see that? Oh, you're right in line with the door, aren't you? That's the problem with this camera. It's not as good in the daylight as the other one is. Oh, I've got a camera there as well. Yeah, can you see that? Is that better? Hopefully. Hopefully it's auto focused. Apologies if it hasn't. Get some more of this muck off the frame. I think once I've stripped it all down, as far as I'm going to take it, I will give the frame a really good clean, but let's have a go with this. I'll just put a bit of grease on it. A bit of oil, not grease, don't want grease, no, I can get full of grease. So we'll take that off there, if I can get it off. How has that got stuck on there? There we go. Right, so it's screw it the wrong way around, we screw it as if we're unscrewing it. And then I've got to find my special wangy tool that I actually need another one of these, because this one's getting a bit old and worn now, mainly because I keep harvesting really knackered bottom brackets out of here. Now, I'm not too fussed if it does end up a couple of millimetres further across than it should be, because sorry, halfway through a conversation, that's very rude. I'm not too bothered if it ends up a couple of mil further across than it would have been normally, because this bike's suffering from overextension of the baler arm on. Oh God, it's one of those days. Overextension of the baler arm on there, so it's almost pulling against itself, and that's why it's very stiff, I think. Right, that's in. Do we want the other one in? I think we probably do. I'm going to have a bit of oil on there. So if these are okay, you should be able to do them with your fingers. That's why they're nailed. So what I tend to do with these is, especially if they're different metals, is I put some copper slip in. Let's flick that the other way. So we hit rock bottom. About as far as it's going to get. Well, that's not that bad. I think that will go in a bit more than that. Instead of me trying to do it backwards, why don't I just come around here and do it? Problem is, this might now be going further than the original one went. If you don't get them all the way in, they don't work. Come on, stop chewing. That's better biting again now. That, I think, is it. So let us stick the crank back on and see where that leaves us. Can't see because the frame's in the way. Let me just spin you around. Yeah, the door's giving you interference again, isn't it? Is that better? What I'm looking for is the distance that the crank arms are away from the thing to see if it's right. So that actually, oh man, do you know what? I'm going to take that. A little bit close on this side. Do you know what? That's not that bad. We might just go with that. Let's give this a bit of a whack and see where we end up. Just make sure we're not going to. Right, so that's about 1 centimetre off. That's probably about 8 centimetres off. You know what, I would take that. I would call that a win. That is going to be like butter. Right, we'll go with that. I think that's a good solution. So it's probably 2mm further across there than it should be, and it's therefore it's shunted 2mm. So it probably should be about 9 and 9, but it's not. It's about 10 and 8. It's probably not even that, to be honest. Let me go get a ruler. Let's do this properly, scientifically. Oops. Right, let's, do you want it in inches or? Great. What a rubbish tape, a rubbish thing. Does this actually have a measure where it oh, that'll do, right. So we are about 11mm on that side, and we are about 8mm on that side. Let's just check that again. So we did it in the same place. No, we are bang on a centimetre on that side, so we are 10 on that side, and we are 7 on that side. So there's a 3mm difference on both sides, so it would be 1.5mm across. I'm not going to argue with that, because as I said, I think part of the problem with this bike is this is having to work too hard to take that across. So if we make that, if we've moved that across, it means that this can already start to be canted and it's not pulling over itself, which is what it's doing at the moment. So I call that a win. Right, so I'm going to cut it there. We're going out tonight, so I will resume filming tomorrow. Well, that escalated quickly. I couldn't bother to put the film back in the camera. It's the following day. We went out for a meal last night. It was George's birthday. Yeah, I stripped the forks down. I wanted to go off anything that was going to have to go into the parts washer to just to soak overnight, so the derailleur's off. That's off. I'm still undecided whether I'm going to leave that on or I'm going to clean up the one that was on it. So we'll see with that one. We'll see what the bearings look like when they come out, whether they are good and what the races look like. They might be all right. We'll just wipe them down. I sprayed it all over with some crud last night. I could probably do with getting some of this stuff off, just so I can free up the forks to make life a bit easier, so we're not swinging around all this stuff. So we'll crack on with that now then. Let's get these forks off. Appear to be missing something. Doesn't matter, we've got that anyway. Make sure I take a note how these go on, because some of these are a bit finicky. I used to have some strange ideas on some of these older, what they call these now, U-brakes? U-brakes. Never liked them. Just found they were a bit of a compromise as it came to brakes. Yeah, I think we've got something is amiss there. There's no adjuster on that one. It's weird. There's only an adjuster on that one. They're both in the same hole, yeah. Weird. Let's have a look at that. Shove them down there, give them a clean in a minute. I was kind of hoping that would come out of there without me having to strip the end bobble off. So it actually moves not too bad. So I think the problem with this is all up in this end here, so we'll strip that out. Have you got a good view of this? Turn you around slightly. Lighting is a bit better today, the sun's not shining on the back of the building, so I think I am going to definitely take that one out. I've managed to lose a socket somewhere along the line. It's not on there what it would normally be. Let's take all the parts out of here, because we shouldn't have parts in here. Parts should be on here. So you know what, the missing bits might reappear. That was the other place it was going to be. That balloons. And that's it. Don't get a little in there either. Put my greases over there. Don't live in there. Box of bits doesn't live there. Goes up there. Oh well, we've got a thermometer in there. What else have we got in here that shouldn't have? Toothbrush, screwdrivers, yeah, deal with that. Tyre weld, but I think that belongs in that box. Some of them. An end clip, I was looking for that yesterday. rubbish. Millions of them. That wants to go back in there. Assembly paste definitely wants to live in there. That doesn't want to live in there. Well, who knows, we were going to do a tidy up the workshop. Missed parts. Didn't miss that time. Plastic bits, thingy bits. Sure, I took another pedal off yesterday. I did. There it is. I'm talking behind the camera again, aren't I? I'm back. Never mind. We're going to get one of those microphone things. I have ordered it. What's in there? Right. And I've got a new pair of glasses on today, so it's driving my head insane. So let's just, before I forget, let's just clean that out. There's one thing I haven't actually ever tested, because I would genuinely be interested to see if we could do it, but I don't think they're the right size. I think they are too big. Yeah, they don't fit. I think they did do a 1 inch. I think they did do a 1 inch suspension fork when they first started out, but everybody moved to 1.25 inches, and then obviously then we went to the fat boys. Right, what are we going to do? We're going to get the rest of these cables off, weren't we? How do they hold on? Aha, that's how they hold on. Well, actually these are going to come off anyway, so let's just make life easy for ourselves. We'll go and grab a handful of Allen keys. These are starting to get worn out, so if anybody wants to donate some, anybody works for a hardware supplier or anything, I've had the there we go. It's the one that's really worn out. Oh, we've got away with that one. Right, mental note where that went, it's almost on the things. Right, so that can bugger off down there. Pull them grips off. There's a little, there wasn't one of them on the other one, that's interesting, unless I've lost it. Oh, it's stuck to it. Did you see that fall? Maybe there just isn't one. Maybe that's why it was really stiff. Right, so we do need to find one of them. This is why moving the bike over there wasn't any good, because I now can't get to, I have to do 2 or 3 steps to go between here and there, here and there. Let's just gently stuck to these. I suspect, given that that's mashed at both ends, that might have worn out. I'm sure we can find something now that's of that thickness. Original GT grips as well, but no point getting sentimental about them. It's not a heritage bike or anything. Right. So if these are awful. Yeah. I wonder if I should have ordered some new cables. Oh well, we are where we are. I can't believe I haven't got any mountain bike cables. What's that one? It's another one of them. So it's a 5. Smooth camera work, eh? Yeah, that's how they work. I forgot about that. Ah, they're horrible. Right, so that's off. That looks very wibbly wobbly and seized and jammed and all sorts of things. We'll have to have a look at that. Let's have a quick squidge at it now, see what it's doing. I can see what it's doing. It's a little bit... I don't think that's going to make that much difference. Should now be able to unscrew this and get this out of there. So we've got the brakes off. Horrible, horrible, horrible contraptions. Well, that seems to be fairly... Yeah, we've got some springage in them, so that's good. Shame we can't find some nicer bars for them. Right, let's have a look at this because these feel awful. Yeah, that's got a big kink in it there. You can see where it's been rotting. I think it'll be alright with a bit of rubbing down and a bit of grease on and straighten out some of these bits that are bent to buggeries. Yeah, you can see that's got a bend in it too. That's got a bend in it, wants a new ferrule on it. Just need to get that out of there, and then that's a good one. Let's have a look at this thing here now. So this is the one we've got the problem with. So let's 10 mil. Actually, a bloke on Facebook who's called 10 mil. That's his name. I bet you could never find him. It's a weird thing where they're using 9mm now, isn't it? 9mm. Who uses 9mm? Come on, Shimano. That's weird. Shimano on there, Suntour on the back ones. How weird is that? Right, that's out. Just made me wonder whether that's a new one. Let's have a check of that. Right. I did whack that on my hammer yesterday, didn't I? That's my own fault. Right, now let's have a look at this thing. Yeah, that's just draggy McDragsville. Oh, and there you go. 9 times out of 10 the problems are usually in the cable outers rather than the cable inners. Yeah, that's horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. So I think what we'll do is we'll take that end off, which means I'm going to have to get this out. And we'll switch that out. So right, don't know what went on there, just cut out, but there was I thought he might have run out of video just as I cut that. Right, so yeah, well that is really stiff. Right, so we'll chuck that over here and we'll have a look at that when we put it all back together. Same with that one. Still here, not run off. Chuck these up here out of the way. That's weird, they're the same as well. Almost the same tension. Normally I have an adjuster on both sides, and you centre them using the adjuster so it pulls the springs. I don't know if you can see what I'm looking at there. Right. So you adjust them and it adjusts the springs tension so that it centres them up by pulling it across, because they are linked together. They don't look actually too bad. There's a bit of meat left on them, so they look like it might be slightly sintered as well. I bet they're the original pads. Right, I'm just going to take a few minutes just to wipe the frame down while I've got all the crap out of the way, and then we will. I really don't want to have to take that off. I'm going to do that. That's it, I can get that off now. There we go, that's that one out of the way. So that's everything off now. I'll just knock that off. See if we can get it off without them to get the... There we go. Universal pedal spanner. We didn't have to get the big jobby on it though. I am going to take that out. I'm not going to use that. I'll save that for another day, because it might be back and then we'll use it then. This is a 2032 big boy. See if this is any easier while it's on here. No, because this is the... No, it's the right hand side. So I should screw normally. Could be wrong. No, it's the opposite way, isn't it? Pedals screw with your leg, left or right hand thread. Bottom brackets don't, I think. I seem to remember. Well, it's been in and out of several bites this, and if nothing else it's a good way of cleaning the threads up. There we go. So you can go back in your box. Boom. So the good thing about them is once you get onto them, if your bearing does get eaten, then it's just a case of swapping the bearings out, and they are a standard bearing for pretty much most button brackets. As I'm hoping when I come to do that other one that I've got set over there, this has gone in much better now that it's out of the way. I could use the impact gun to get this out. Because I'll be honest, the tool I'm using is a little bit tired. The problem is that I've had that for quite a few years. I've probably had about 15-16 years, and it's starting to get a little bit worn, especially with some of the ones where I've had to use the breaker bar. So I could do with another one, but actually getting another one of these at this quality and not made out of Chinesium, it's going to be quite difficult. So I'll chuck that back in there. You get to live another day, and we will refurb the loose race that's in it. Right, so I'll just pop you off in a couple of seconds, and I will give the frame a quick once over. Yeah, I know I don't normally clean frames, but I think I'm going to need to do this one just so I can see what I'm doing. Bring you back. Right, just always cleaning these up still. Just noticed these are in a bit of a mess. I'll give them a quick whiz off. They look a little bit better. Oops, the soft jaws actually in line. These were quite good. Amazon special cheapy nasty things. What we'll do is just smear a bit of grease on these and give them a fighting chance. It's not very often you find them that haven't got chrome in them or something to stop them from rusting, but they'll be fine. Bit of grease on them. Cleaned up nicely. I think this was the worst of the two actually. If you noticed on some of the old school pedals, they always have the knurling on the left hand side. Say Al there, but also on there as well, so you know that it's a left hand thread. That's what I did the first time. Seemed to work quite well. Yes, I could do with a new one of them. Again, anybody's got some spares? Oh, it's greatly received. Right, they look okay. It's a bit of a mix of this bike, isn't it? We've got a Shimano front derailleur, we have a Suntour back derailleur, and we've got SRAM grip shifts. I'd love to know if that was the original setup on the bike. These that's weird. And if the thing's catching. That's interesting. I see the end of the thing, but it's not quite where it should be. It's like it's up in the air. Might have to have a quick look at that. Let's just turn you off. Right, so I'm going to pop the cable out of this anyway. And that's the adjuster, so it has got an adjuster on it. Right. I think these cables are a little bit past it. The back one wasn't so bad, but we'll swap it out anyway. Just want to fill this all the way round, so I'm going to take it out Anyway, cables. Any other time you'd reel one of those in and it wouldn't. That felt very draggy in there. So, right, so we've got a bit of an issue going on there because it is jammed. Now why is it jammed because that's out? But it's jammed because that's out. Let me take that out altogether. Nope. I just needed to be a bit more forceful with it. God, they're horrible. Tempted to switch them to see if they want to switch them to twist shifts, to indexers. They're horrible. Right, I think that's the puppy. Yeah, I think that's long. Hopefully it's long enough. This is the back one. If not, we'll have to put this one back in because I don't have any spares of these either. Nope, it is just long enough. So that's fine. Before we put it in the sleeve, we'll fill the sleeve full of grease as well. It's going to be one of those days today. Twist, don't you dare. Right, which way did it go? I think it went that way. Possibly. I'd have to load it down to there. Bring you back in a minute. Right, sorry, interruptions again. Just loading up the frame with a bit of grease, getting the ball races in. I've finished faffing about with those shifters. I've got them working, I've got the cable in. They are not... They're a very simple design, the whole mechanism's plastic, so I don't hold a great deal of confidence in them actually working. So what I might suggest is I'll see if I can get them working. If not, I'll just buy a set of indexers and brake levers all combined, because you can get them for about 15-20 quid. And they're brand new, they've got cables and everything with them, brake cables, the lot. So we can just shove them straight on and they will work because I've used them before. I did a conversion on my wife's bike, which was a Specialized that had got Revo shift things on it, and I converted that to a levered indexer with built-in things, and I think I also did it to George's Specialized hard rock, because that was a Revo shift as well, his little one, and it was massively better when we did that. And I think I sold the Revo shifts for more than I bought the Shimano indexers for, but I got slightly better indexers. They weren't sort of cheap and generic ones. They were, I think they were Sora or XT or no, they weren't. They were Dior. They were Dior. So they were the brand. They were the proper ones, not the Alvia or whatever they call them on mountain bikes for Shimano. That feels okay. Right, step one complete. I've got to remember which bits go on next now. There's a whole load of funny bits go on next. That's a thing. that's that, but there's a, I've lost it, oh there it is, found it. That's not irritating, is it? Right. So I think this went on next, and the cat's coming in. Then I think that went on. Pretty sure that went on. Yep. And then finally the nut went on. Needs a bit of cleaning. You don't want dirty nuts. You need nice clean nuts. Now, hoping they're done up enough, because these are a bit more of a pig to sort out if you don't get it right first time. So let me just make sure everything's settled down. So you can put a bit more finger tension on these, because you, right, I think that is about it. Just take some of the grease off that, and I've put my mucky paw prints all over that as well now. God, they were nice and clean, weren't they? No, they weren't, they were. Again, if this went to a bike shop, they would have just gone, write it off, buy another one. And that really irritates me, because do you know what they like this bike? It's all the family uses it, so it's an ideal travelling bike. It's okay. It's an old bike. It's from the first generation of mountain bikes, before the suspension bikes came in. But it's well made. It's a GT. That feels a bit notchy now. So this is what you see. You don't realise how lucky we are having the headset systems that we have now. Are a lot better. And I've got to try and get that undone with an oily rag, because that's gone too tight now. I'm going to slacken that off a little bit more. As soon as I put any tension on it, I can feel it biting the bearings. So it's that thing again, when you drive the thread down, there's play in the thread itself. You know, it's, even though it's microns, but when you push that down, it's pushing down on that, so it actually starts to bite. You know what, they feel okay. Most important thing is that they don't rattle backwards and forwards. So we will just shove that in there until we are ready. This one didn't look too bad, so I'm going to leave that one alone. We will need to retension those. So it looks like we're already into the assemble now, so let's crank this back up. Get it a little bit higher for me. Move you out of the way. We're back. Right, yes. Okay, let's get the handlebars on next. I think that's probably the easiest thing to do. That's a bit scabby, isn't it? Should we just clean that off? Or whizzy wheel it? You don't need to see that. We are now. Right, so I whizzed it off. I'm just going to put a bit of copper slip on it to stop it from corroding. So copper slip's just all molly grease. That's what they use on brakes. It's good for stopping things from corroding when there's two different metals, and that is looks like it's an alloy or it's cast. I'll just put a bit round there, just a bit to help it slide up and down. And then people say, oh, you shouldn't put that on your steers, but these things are so heavy duty on the clamps, they're completely over the top compared to what we use now. So if you look, it's got a big tooth bite there anyway, so it's not It's not going to be an issue. So what we will do is, I'll try and remember where it was when it went in. I think there is a maximum, yes it's there, so that's the highest it can go anyway. So we'll put it in there. And we will have to line it up afterwards. It should be a 6 because everything's a 6 on these old bikes. These were the days when you didn't need to torque wrench anything down. It took a while to bite in. There we go, it's just nipping up now. Let me just see if I can get that somewhere like straight. I have no idea if that's straight or not. Just nip it up, it doesn't need to be massive, just need to stop it from spinning around. I was hoping my microphone would have come today and we could have tried that out. Right, so front brake is that one because the clutch would be on that one, so I have to remember it with motorbike. So if you sit me on a push bike, even though I've been riding them for years, I would not be able to tell you which way round is which. That actually felt quite stiff, that. That's okay. We'll give it a bit of a blast with this. Squeeze, squeeze, and which one did I find worked better? It was not that one. It wasn't carb cleaner. Definitely wasn't carb cleaner. It's got a little stick on it. It's probably already out. So the little nozzle, that one. That one. This one worked well. It's just another version of WD-40. It's a penetrating anti-seize thing. So it just happens to fit inside there. So you can see it squirting out the other end, so that's just Waz lube all the way down that. Can you see that? Don't know if you should have seen that. Let's just swing you back up again there. Right, apologies for focus. It's not the quickest thing in the world. It's a, I haven't told you what it is, have I? It is a Canon 500D DLSR, and I've had it for about 15 years, 16 years. Probably go and check because all the pictures will be online when I've posted them, and they'll be the ones. It got a lot of use when we first got it, but it's kind of been sat in a drawer now because, do you know what? Actually, my iPhone, I use that more than anything else because, do you know, the pictures are good enough. The camera we had before was a Sony camcorder that did video and stills, even though it looked like a camcorder. But what made that absolutely fantastic? Did he really drill through there? Oh my goodness. Okay. That's interesting. I've never seen anybody drill through their handlebars before. I think the idea was that you put tie wraps through them holes rather than drill a hole through your handlebars. Okay, interesting. I only just spotted that. Right, so we'll put these back in, and that's in. This needs to go through, oh, that's horrible. That needs to go in there somewhere. Oops, where's the channel there? There should be a witness mark somewhere to see where the cable went. Yeah, it went down the back, I thought it did. So that would have gone on there like that. That jams against there. Don't know why that was up there. It's interesting. Well, for me it is. I think that might be there to protect the 5. This is why, well, let me go and grab a 5mm Allen key and a 6mm Allen key. 5, 6, that's not the 5, where's the 5? That's the 5. Right. So we've got a full set to hand. Give that a quick wipe down. Don't need that anymore. Right, that's good. They do need tightening up. Not without them, they don't. I'll try and get it where it was, or somewhere near. They seem to be moving a bit freer. I do think we're going to need to do the adjusters. It just seems to be pulling slightly to one side. Straighten you back up again. Right, so that's the first one on. Let's get the back brake on, and then we'll worry about the shifters. So where's the back brake? No, not that one. It'll have some really annoying things attached to it. Somewhere. That one. No, maybe it won't. No, that's a shifter. It's the shifter. That one. That one. Right, we do need to check this one because this was a bit stiff. So it's got a bit of an egg in it there. You see all this. That's slightly bent. That's slightly bent. That's the protection stuff, which is nice to see that's on actually. That's very rusted. That's a little bit bent. So it's not that bad actually. I think we will just give it some going over with the... Literally just had it 2 seconds ago and it has vanished already. 2 seconds, you saw me. 2 seconds, I had it in my hand. I thought I'd lobbed it in here. Sorry. Strategically placed it. Do my heading. It's because I've got my glasses on, I can't see it. Got it. It was in there. My eyes were painted on. Alright, so take that through there, shove that up there, wang that in there, put that in there as tight as I can, chuck that in there as tight as you can. Put that down, put that out. Yeah. That's it. That's it, that's nice. Yeah, some of these have one screw, some of them have 2 screws, but this one's a bit awkward. Actually, that's. I'm hoping that's. Oh god, that's gammy. Best thing we can do with that. So here's another trick: is to go and get some fine sandpaper, if there's any kicking around. Look at that, there's a bit there. So a bit of emery cloth. You can put some oil on it if you want. And find the offending article, because this is galvanised, so this is how they used to do it. It was galvanised brake cables. As I said, I haven't got any spare brake cables for this, but given that we'll see how it goes, and I might be turning around to them and saying, actually, do you know what, if I were you, I'd swap these for indexers. You get new cables with the indexers anyway. But these are brake cables, so they don't take a lot of tension. They don't generally have a glide issue. They either stick or they don't. So what we're doing is just knocking off the rust, because the rust does make it thicker. It's like new now, that. So, because I can't be bothered to, bit of that on there, because we've got this here anyway. I'll just whiz that through, so that's now nicely coated. We'll wang that on there, wang, 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 wang. So I'm spinning it with the weave, so it's less likely to snag, and even if there is a broken filament somewhere, it's not gonna roll out. And at some point we're going to come out the other end, and then it all will be good, he says. Fingers are getting tired. Yeah, we're out. Once you're out, you're good. Yeah, I just feel like, yeah, there's a little bit of a bobble on that. Right, so they're out now. So what we will do, because I can't be bothered to shift the frame, and this stand's actually quite good. It does have a recessing for the cables. So what you can do is you can do that, and then I think it went that side. Doesn't really matter. Looks like it's universal. Send that up there first. That might make life a bit easier. Ooh, that's graunchy. That's a bit better. Right, that goes over there, like that. Don't know why that's a bit saggy. I don't know if they're supposed to fit. They're not supposed to fit through there. So I could see that could cause some problems with it snagging on them, getting compressed, but they must have been there before, so we'll give that a go. Right, that's moving okay. All we need to do now is just stick it up there. And that still feels... Sorry, just realised I did all that with it focused on the thing. So we've got that in, it's all greased up. That's ready to go. So we'll just drop that through the strange device that I hate these things. This doesn't need to be lubed, by the way. So that just goes straight through there. And hope for the best. That's it, and then just drop that onto where it was originally, hopefully, he says. So that should have gone through there, and it looks like it grabbed on about there. 5mm Allen key. Come on, fingers don't fail me. Just be careful with that one, you don't over tighten it because it is into aluminium, so it will throw a wobbly. Right, they're on. Still a bit graunchy, but there's not what we can can do with that, I'm afraid. Stick a bit of white grease in there, try and help that. That's a bit better, yes. That was weird because that was actually the bezel being a bit graunchy actually in the holder. So we'll do the same to that one. That's made a massive difference, that. Again, just shows, could have just gone and replaced the cable then and done all the outers and inners and it wouldn't have made a jot of difference. It doesn't look any better, does it? Right, that's that lot on. I think the next thing to do is probably get the crankcase, the crank sorted out. We'll stick that in next. I've got all the bits over here. I think the first thing to put in is this, but tell you what, let me bring you back when I've just wiped these things down. Right, apologies for the noise. I've just been blowing them out with compressed air because I noticed there's still a lot of rubbish in the back of the bowl races. They look okay. A little bit of a nick and a splat in that one. That one looks fine. All the muck's come out of it, and then I'll give them a good whiz with. Oh, give them a good whiz with car cleaner, just to make sure I've got the last of it out. Now then, is this the left? That's the left hand thread. Left, right hand side. So it's this is this side. This one, I think. We'll find out in a minute because it won't go in. Right, that's the right one. So before we do anything else, as before, because we've got possibly two different metals here anyway, but we don't want them to rust, we will stick a bit of molly slip down the back of there. Copper slip. And that should help it go in. I'm kind of hoping it'll go in with fingers. I don't have to get the big spanner on it because it's a pain up the backside, the spanner. No, it's not. We're going to need the spanner. The spanner that's just, actually that spanner's taken a bit of a beating of it over with these. If it's like the other one, it'll get so far and then all of a sudden it'll free up. It'll go in quite nicely. Spinny, 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 spinny. Should have put some grease in the other end of that before I did that. So we will stick my finger all the way through and see if I can massage something in. Yeah. Still need to clean off the other bits. I think these are the same size, though I could be wrong. So we'll just give it a quick measure with the measure stick. So from race 2 is 4.5 or 450. Interesting. Race 2 thing is less. So I would guess that the less one goes on there, but I could be wrong. Somebody should have taken a note of that. So that's there, depends where this cup ends up. So that sits out further, so that sits out. I think the longer side has to go on that side. I'll take a punt on that. Should have taken a note in it of width before we did it. Same again, you want to get the grease into the grooves on the back of the race, so they need to go into there. And then we were going to put the shorter side on this side, weren't we? Let's put it through. Right, so actually we should be able to prove something at this point, because again they need to be fairly even, and this will actually then tell me also whether they were set up even anyway, because sometimes they're not. They should be even, but they're not always even. And it is quite possible that this might have been to a bike shop before and they did put it, they've done exactly the same thing and put it in the wrong way around. Right, so that's the shorter one. And then if I put the other one on, so that's there. Right, so that's already got the longer one on. Yep, that's the right way round. So it's the right way round. The gap's not quite the same, but if you turned it the other way round, this had a slightly bigger gap anyway, so even if you turned it round, all that would happen is that, no, this had a slightly bigger gap, this had a smaller gap. If you turned it round, this would be even closer to the frame and this would be even further across, so that's good. That's exactly where it should be. And I suspect when I put all the other bits on the other side, there'll be about the same amount sticking out. We've killed something. That was the torch. You are still with us, aren't you? I wish I had a flipping warning light on that thing to say what it was up to. Right, so you go on there like that. And then somewhere in here, stick my torch back up there, we've got a very manky looking thing. Right. The only thing I haven't done is check this ball race, and this is when I look at this and find out there's a dirty great big channel in it, because it's always on one side. It's normally that side. What is it? I can't remember now. There's one side, it's nearly always that side that goes first. No, it would be this side. There is a little bit of pitting and scarring on there, on that one. Extra grease. Right, so this one should screw in the normal way till it is finger tight. Still moving, still moving, not moving. Right, should be a locking nut somewhere. Yep, there we go. Uno locking nutto. So I'll just screw that on as well. finger tight first while I just check that we've got no play, then we don't have to do any more adjustments. And then we'll just check once more that this is right, because this is looking like there's rather a lot still sticking out, and there's rather not a lot sticking out of this one. So we'll just check that one last time, because it might be right. Switch card and thing. That's lasted quite well actually. I'm quite impressed with that. Right, where was I? Yeah, I was just going to flip this round, so we'll just unscrew that. Never underestimate the amount of torque you can get on with an oily rag. And I forgot to molly slip this cup. Why didn't you remind me? Right, so I'm just going to flip it around and see if it looks any better. Because if you remember, I did want to try and move the thing. Now I've got a sneaky suspicion, I've got a vague recollection that going back many years ago, we will stick some molly slip on that, there's a ridge on the shaft, and the ridge that's on the shaft goes on the drive side. So if I'm right, please put some comments in so I know I'm not going daft. And this is where I put this one in, and it doesn't clear the thing altogether at all, and then I'll just prove myself to be an absolute liar. So we'll stick that on. Feels like a pig. Sounds awful. Let's see where this ends up now. Right, that one's about that far away. It's gone down now, put something on it. What's interesting is just appears to fit better on that side. Right, so I do, before I tighten them up, I do need to check that we've got no play. Yeah, we've got play on the outer race. Less play. Still got some play. That sounds bloody awful. I know where I'm going with this. So that's alright, but there's a ton of play in it. This is riveting stuff. So we'll put it back in again. Nah, don't like that. There's one place that's going. Bin. The race on that side, you know, I said there's some fairly hefty gouges in it. There are some fairly hefty gouges in it, and you can feel it. It spins, but it's not smooth. This is the other way around. What am I forcing it for? That's it. So, because we like to do things several times on the Lockdown Workshop, as you will know, and we've wasted at least a finger's worth of thing. So, I'm sorry folks, that's in the bin. Let's go get this puppy out again. Let's have another play with this one. So, we will mully slip it definitely this time, because this is it's either a tungsten or aluminium. One of those. And that's going to screw in there like that. And that's going to be all happy. And then this one, greased up as well, so it slides in there. We'll wang a bit of grease on that as well, just to protect the... give that a bit of help. Oh, nearly forgot. Nearly out of this pot. This came from my father-in-law, who gave me this big snot of... well, it's a pill box, so I suspect somebody filled it for him from somewhere where he's worked. Let's go and get the Ujima flip tool. That's the Ujima flip tool gone. I had that, I put that over here, I know I did. No, it's definitely not in here. I definitely put it back with the goodies. I did have another one, but I cut it up and gave it to somebody. Oh, there it is. So I need to, as if I'm undoing it, so I think that bit there was biting, was just where it was going through the shell on the other side. Sometimes it's easier to start them off earlier on in the thread on that side, so that they both start to knit together, because I was having a lot of problems getting it in. So that is now in, and we are going to cheat. I am going to use the impact driver for this. Not that one, I'm not. You shouldn't be doing this, but do you know what? So it just needs a little nip up, and then we'll go around the other side. Sorry for walking in front of the camera again. We'll spin it the other way. No idea. That is a good one. So it's a little bit recessed because it's not quite the right one, and some of them have a mounting ridge on the outside to stop you from pushing it through too far. I did think I had some spares in there, but I think I used them last time. So, look at that, Bobby Dazzler. Right, so they want greasing on. And there's two schools of thought of this, but I'll tell you now, when you buy these, they have grease inside the crank things. Not all of them, but some of them when you buy them have grease inside the spline on here. So that tells me that you are supposed to. And there is two sorts of these, it's what they call diamond and square. So if you are buying new crank arms and you're just buying one side, make sure you buy the right one or you're going to be left with a spare. Trust me, I know from experience. Right, so this could still all go wrong. We might still end up in the parts bucket to get this out if the thready steady doodah things, that the nuts aren't compatible with this crank setup, of which I put the nuts on the side. So just bear with me while I go and look for them. Right, found them. They were there, so this is where we find out whether they work. They should work. So it does help if you use a windy gun, because it knocks them on a bit, so you're not just grinding them in, using percussion to break the... Right, before I go any further with this one, let me thread that one in by finger, because I just had a horrible feeling it was going to bite, that it was going to de-thread. Right, so these want to be about 40 on the gut and tighten. That's annoying, it fits really well on the other side and it sits slightly proud on that side. So we'll go and get the gut and tight meter out. Big one. It's probably set to 40. It is set to foot-pounds. That's not right. It is set to 40. Not like that, it's not. That's it. Oh. Not quite a long enough lever on these things to tighten them up. That's it. Yeah. So as measured before, now it's all on. We've got about a centimetre on that side. It probably looks about, actually it's a lot less now. I'd say that's probably about 8. I would say that's about 5, so there's about 3mm difference in it. So it is shunted over slightly, but as we said, and from what I've just seen on the other one, it was already like that. So, but that, as you can hear, is like butter. So I think I can't remember what, I'd have to go and find out what I paid for that, but I think I probably paid about £15 for that when I bought this. So, and it's not been fitted to anything else, because it is a they operate many standards on these old square shank things. So the chance of you know, I'll take my chances with that one. It's the right thing to do, because that is smooth as anything. I'm a lot more happier with that. Well, I might as well stick the pedals on now while we're at it. Again, different types of metal, so a bit of molly slip on there. We'll extend the molly slipping to the crankage as well, the actual shaft as well, just to give it a bit of protection. So this one's the right hand thread, so it'll be this one, because it's the right hand leg. Trouble is I've been screwing that many left and rights now, I've got no idea which one's which. Come on spanner, where are you? It's your time to shine. I've had this spanner a long time as well. It's got some rigged dints in it, and a few stubborn pedals and a hammer. And you forget that that's thin, so you start braying on it with a hammer. That's it, very nice. Right, we took a risk and thread it from the wrong side. Let's thread it while I'm stood on the wrong side. Feeling confident today. It's certainly what I would call a survivor, this bike, and it's now had an upgrade to a sealed bottom bracket. There we go. So if it goes again now, we can just pop the bearings out, stick some new bearings in. But that, I would say, is absolutely fan-flipping-tastic. Happy with that. So all we've got to do now is just stick the brakes on, stick the wheels on. I have got to clean the wheels. I'm not sure you need to see that though. Interestingly though, it has got a removable crank, but I'm not sure it's one of the standards that I've got. So let me just have a quick look at my crank removal tool, because that does not look like it will fit. No, it won't. Yeah, that's a very strange size. Right, so I will degrease her. Right, so sorry, I'm talking away off camera. It's not centre, it's not quick release brakes, it hasn't got a hollowed out axle. That's the old school method, so that is actually a complete mirror of what the cartridge is. So it is a standard cartridge, but the locking nut is exactly the same as the carrier underneath. So you could put a new one of these on, but you'd have to retain that possibly. Don't know. Don't want to take it off. I'm going to clean it. I would suggest if we got to the point where that needed replacing, that is the point where it probably becomes uneconomical for the bike. I'm looking at some of these, they look slightly rounded over, but the chain was okay, so it should be alright. Right, back again. Give the tyres a quick once over. I'm just going to try and get some of this grease off here, make them look a little bit better. So I've doused it in engine cleaner, which is my go-to degreaser for everything bike. So I'm just using a normal one of these gadgets that gets right deep into all of this. So more of a stiffer one on that. Does seem to be quite a lot of play in this, but there's not we can do about that, unfortunately. As I said, these are a non-standard thing, so even if you want to take these off, actually, I'll tell a lie, I think they, let me just have a quick look at that, I think that might come off. I didn't spot that before. I think we might be able to take the whole lot off. Let's have a quick look at that with my special removal tool. The trouble is, I've got a sneak suspicion I have to take the wheel off to do it. And I'm not going to take the hub off, because if I take the hub off, yeah, that's not going to get in there. I think you can unscrew that whole section and take that whole piece off, but we're going to leave that. That wasn't the remit. I think this is one of those ones you leave it until it fails. Get the stepper brush in now. Now we scared it all. It's locking, it's freewheeling, so I don't think we just leave that for the time being, I think. what I will do is shoot a ton of engine oil, light oil down there before we put it on. That's come up quite good actually. There's this one. Let's get a bit more of a No, I think that's alright. Just give it a quick blast off. I'll keep it from going down the centre. Actually, that doesn't look bad at all. There's a bit of rust on it, but other than that, I think we're spot on. Let me just try one thing, see if I can nip these bearings up a bit. There's my smaller persuader. Sorry, this is a bit uncalled for. There are a couple of notches in here that I might be able to use them to tighten it up. A little bit. I think it's made that much difference. What I will do though is I'm a bit moist. I'll just hosed myself down at the same time. So I'm just shooting a load of oil down there. You can hear the oil's working through because the ratchet, you can't hear the ratchet now. Yeah, it's coming back now. There you go. So I'll just give that a quick blast off with the air. I'll bring you back in 2 minutes because that is really noisy. Right, let's get these on now. Stick the back one on first. Nuts and bolts. We walk round the camera for once instead of walking through the shot, which I normally do. Right. Ah, that's interesting. It's got a nut on that side and not one on this side. That's interesting, because I took the nut off, didn't I? Don't fall out, because these nuts I've got in my hand aren't those nuts. They are. There's the nut off the, and it was a 15. Nope, don't walk through the shot. So we're into old school, aren't we? So we're going to centre these things up. Actually, that's not running that bad because it was sounding a bit rough when I hand spun the right, cracking. Well, I think we're good with them. Right, then brake pads are in completely the wrong place. Right, let's just see where we are with those. Do you know what? They actually work. They didn't work before. So as you can see, that one's permanently against it, which means the spring's too tight on that one. So I need to slacken the spring off on this one, so it goes across more onto that side. So that one's undoing slightly. See, normally, as I said, you'd have them on both sides. Just get a Phillips. Hopefully it works. So this should slacken the spring off. And if this doesn't work, we have to knock it back one. And I definitely moved then. Right, they are starting to go. It's a little bit graunchy, so I'm just going to shoot a bit of lube down the back, not that lube, a bit of this lube down the back of those, just to try and make them a bit better. And the same with that one. Sorry, I'm just going to have to go in front of the camera. And the same with you. You can have a bit as well. Right, so now we're going to go to line them up. So it's could be a 10. Oh come on, don't be a 9. Oh, it's happy if I actually picked up the 10 and not the 12. Right, so let me come round this side, because I need to be on this side anyway to see what I'm doing. Don't spray that one, because we've got to put the end on it yet, so don't knacker it up until we've got the end on. God, that's tight. That's very tight. I was doing it the right way. Oh, there we go. Somebody's well over tightened that. So that was tweaking up a bit. Possibly pushing in a bit. Or pushing out a bit. That's okay. Oh, squeeze round this. Oh. Just. Actually, that one doesn't look that bad. Maybe it's a little high, if anything. No, not going to have that. God, that one's been over tightened as well. angle it down slightly. I'm coming. Somebody's at the door. I'm back. Turn off the camera. Right, so I've just quickly chucked on the front wheel. I think it's about centred. I'll check it when it's dropped down. I've just adjusted these, taken a bit more slack out. Now the brake pads are where they should be on these, and I have adjusted them so that they are even, and they feel really responsive now because they didn't work very well either. So we've got front brakes, back brakes actually working. I didn't think we were going to be able to salvage them without doing the replacing all the outer casings and everything. So what's next? Apologies if you've not zoomed in on that. So I think it's supposed to autofocus, but only on faces possibly. Anyway, I need to have a play with this. I need to understand this camera better if we're going to use it. What we'll do now is we'll stick the derailleur back on, put the chain back on. It's easier to do the derailleur first and just make sure that that's lined up properly. I'm also just going to check this, so we can do that now actually while you are here. So I will pause you. Right, I've switched focus modes now just to see if we can get it. Autofocus is on, so we'll see how we go with that. Right, I'm just going to check this. So the way to do this is to check on these 3 speeds that it is lined up with the outer tooth on there, which it is, which suggests that we're not a million miles away. Oh, I just saw the front wheel coming around and give the camera a good smack then. Let me see if I can find a way of wedging that so it's not going to hit you again. The trouble is the camera's somewhere where I need to put it so it doesn't. Let me swing you around there. Right, that's out of the way now. The front wheel was caught on there. Right, so that is lined up with that the inner tooth there, which is how you do a 3-speed. So that's all right. So what I might do though is just crank it up slightly, because I think I can get away with that. So we use the upper and under adjusters, because I think on these old ones you can actually see where the adjuster's working. So yep, it's that one. So if I just give that a little bit of a tweak, we should take that out a bit and it should make changing gear a little bit easier. The only thing we've got to be careful of is that we do actually take it down, so we still might have to adjust it to take the chain down. But I'm hoping that that will work, because then that will take that one up, that will knock that one off, so there's only one place for it to go. And then the upper one, which I think is possibly set too high as well, might be alright, we'll see that. I think this chainring is where it should be, looking at what I've just seen on there. So I'm quite happy with that. That oil's doing its magic. It's a bit grumbly, that bearing. Right, I'll just cut you off because I've just realised I've not cleaned the derailleur. We have now. Right, so I've just given this a quick wipe off and a quick blast off. It's a Shimano Sis, it's not a Suntour. I don't know why I thought it was a Suntour. So we've got SRAM shifters, Shimano Sis gear arms. Interesting. Does make me wonder whether they have been swapped, but they had the original GT grips on, so I'm slightly confused because they do appear to match. So who knows? Right, just make sure that that's done up well and that we are lined up. That's okay. Normally they sit a bit further up there, but right, probably wants to go up a bit on that one, and for there, and that's way over the top. Yeah, so that's not been adjusted right, so I bet you that's had a few gear issues. I think that one's alright, it's the one at the other end I'm more concerned about. That one. I suspect it wants to go in a bit more. Although there's not a lot of adjustment left on it. It's out of the way of the wheel, but it's that thing about... Now it wants to come back a bit. It's gone too far. You've got to remember you've got to extend it as well, because they do have a bit of... it's still slightly over. Oh, it won't be able to be like that. No, it's not too bad. We'll see. We'll see when we put the chain on. Right, I'll bring you back when I've... in fact, no, you can come across here. I'll bring you back at the spare chain from the BMX. We can't use that. Right. Drink water. Yeah, not drinking enough water. Not being healthy enough. Which is, if you know coaches, you'll know that they are never healthy enough. Right, new chain, 7 speed. Should have a standard split link in this instead of the funky one we had the other day. Let's make sure all the crap's off here so we're not driving it through a load of crap. Oh no, we have got a posh one. We have got a modern one in this. Oh, we are honoured. You don't normally get them with the 7 speed. You normally get break-offs or one. So hopefully this will be good. Right, have we got an order of travel for this one? No. Right, that's good. Right, so that needs to go. Yeah, that's right, yes, because we're putting that piece in, so that does need to go there. So I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, I'm just making sure that we've got the same length of chain, but you have to keep adjusting it because obviously the older chain will have stretched a slight bit over a length. So I bet it's only just going to make it. Ooh, right, so that one needs to come off. Where's the magic chain extractory devicey thingy? Just keep using the shit one. Might as well. Save the posh one for the delicate chains. Not that this isn't any... Oh no! Oh, I just caught that. Come on, pop out the other side. There we go. And Bob's your uncle. Fanny is undoubtedly your aunt. One last check for direction. Right, direction of travel. You do need to be careful with these, so direction of travel needs to be exactly that, so it needs to go on that way round without all these annoying kinks in. Right, come on. Annoys me when they go one way and then go the other. I'll bring you back in a minute. I know you're still pointing at the floor, but I need to go and hang this over something. Right, why don't I just hang it over that there? And it has to go on that way round. Let me fetch you back. Boom, there we go. Slight break for a tea. on you do. Oh, how have I managed to do that? Middle ring just to be awkward. Send it down there. That's it all the way. Sorry, I have to walk in front of you. Right. Right, so that goes over there. Over there. Hopefully comes through. Keep shoving it. Come on. Don't be awkward. Come on, you're really being awkward now. Up in front. Right, let me just check the order of direction for these things. I don't really know why it matters for these, but I'm sure somebody will tell me. I know on the other ones with the split fish, the split clip that looks like a fish, that we used to have on the older single speeds, they definitely, or motorbike chains, they definitely didn't even need the tool. Got the tool out of the toolbox and didn't even need it. That was particularly sloppy. Let's just see if it's happened. Does it go all the way up? Where is that ended up? Pretty much spot on. That's because I'm good. I am the gear doctor. See where it's ended up at the bottom. So that's slightly, that wants to go slightly in a bit still. That freewheel bearing sounds a bit rough. I really don't want to have to swap that out. I think that's the one. Right, so it should be, so it's slightly over from that is now. So the outside edge of that is, it should be on the centre of the tooth of the other one. So I don't think we're a million miles away there. So what's next? We've got to route the cables down and feed them back into this thing here. So I need to put this back together. Again, I'm just going to put a little bit of copper slip on that because they do tend to foul up, and even the plastic, this is aluminium I think, and they tend to fur up and end up in a right mess, and you've got loads of different metals all mucking around there. So we will you keep getting in my way. So it wants winding all the way in, which these are on a ratchet, which is what that spring's there for. So there's a couple of detents on there. That's using the American phrase, sorry. So that's in as far as it's going to go, I think. So just back it off one. So that's in, that's waiting for the cable. Oh, I don't know, shove the cables on. Let me go and grab a cable. Right, hopefully the focus is working. Now then, which ways does this go? I am guessing it goes this way. So you can see that grip shift. That looks like it's about right. We do need to shift all this lot across, so now's probably a good time to do that. And I think that, I hope I've got that the right way around. Let me go and check, bear with me. Yep, I had got it right. Just let me grab the actual cables now, because I think we were going to stick some new cables on this. So, because that was a bit of a mesh. Now I think that's the right one, if I'm right. That's the one that went up to there. Yep. So I seem to remember when we put this in it was a bit stiff, so we will just check it. It feels alright, that. So we don't need to swap that one out. I suspect it was the other one that we needed to swap out. Right, so that's okay there. I do need to move them, as I've just said, and I'm going to tilt this down slightly as well, because we're getting that problem where the front wheel's got a mind of its own and it's really starting to irritate me. So this now needs to feed back under here. I need to be really careful because there's a filament that's popping out, and if we make a mess of that I won't be able to get the end cap on. I won't be able to feed it through the rest of this. So that's on there now, that's okay. So that's now going to go through here, through there, and then we need a little bit for the end, which was this bit. So now this bit is the one that's more likely to have a problem. So I'm just going to get a quick blast out with some compressed air. Oh, yeah, so quite a common problem for these is to pick up a lot of dust and grime. That's it. So you blast them out with some compressed air, and then hopefully you don't have any problems when you shove it through. There we go. So that goes in there. That goes through there, hopefully, and then should pop out. Oops. With barely enough to bolt on there. So how has that happened? Right, that's okay. That's okay. You're on. Hold on a second. Let us try that. That should make a bit of difference. Ah, there we go. Yes. These shifters work the opposite way around. So are you recording? I can't remember. Yep, you're recording. Can you see that? Can you see what actually see what I'm doing? Right, 10 mil, I think. Now these are a bit finicky, so I am going to do the full pull to make sure I get some tension on that. Because you often find you haven't got enough adjustment to take all the tension out of it. There is, I think there's an adjuster actually on the end of there as well, so you do have two. In fact, I haven't checked that that's pulled in on this one. that's all the way in. In fact, it was that one I wound it in, didn't I? I know that one's right. So that's because it's a 9, isn't it? I remember now. Why didn't you remind me? And it's a 9. Stood there wondering why it's not actually tightening up. Who puts a 9 on these? Come on, Shimano. I mean, a 10 was a standard even before these bikes, so you've got no excuse really. Right, you might need a bit more adjustment in that, but I think it's time to actually sort out these grips. What is that that's flashing? I've never seen that before. Can't be storage, can it? Or is that just telling me it's recording? Who knows? Let me just stop and check. I think it was the live focus that was doing something there. I've never seen that flashing, but like I said, I haven't used this thing for ages. Right, let's break out the grips. So these grips are slightly shorter. I couldn't get the GT SRAM grips that were on it. So we got these, and they are compatible with grip shift. It says they are Rally. They've got nice big chunky ends on actually, so I do rather like these. So we'll do the normal business of, there we go. I've just shot that straight in your eye, haven't I? Nope. Oh, come on, don't be awkward. That's better. I'm saying, why is it using grease? Well, it all will become apparent. Right, so it's actually got some funny little ends in that do sit in your bar end. So that is a much better look. So. Stop saying so. Alright, where have we hidden the 5mm? What we need to do though is now just knock the very seized on things across. But not so tight that they get stuck. That's okay, that should be nice. So we've just got to tighten that up now with the really shitty one. Oh, that's better. That looks better now. Right, so moment of truth. I've just worked out what it is. It's a temperature warning light. So I'm just going to shut the camera down, let it cool down for a bit, and then we will bring you back. I'm not going to do anything else to the bike, so you're not going to miss this, but I'm just worried that it is overheating, so we will shut it off and turn it off and give it a chance to cool down. Right, hopefully it's cooled down now. Would you believe it? It was absolutely perfect. Obviously these aren't the greatest shifters, so you have to work with it a bit, but so you have to put a little bit more twist in past the click to get it to go up. And you'll say that's not very good, but all will become apparent when you're coming back down again, because when you're coming back down it does ride, so I can't really adjust it more than that, because if I take any more off, when you go up you almost have to index up onto the second notch before it. So if you look, I've ratcheted it back, I'm going up, I rack it back, I go up, I rack it back. And that's it. So we'll stick it in the middle, and we're going to do the front one now, hopefully. While we were off camera, I did do something. I know I said I wouldn't, but I did. That's rubbish. I just stuck a new cable in this and discovered that this is completely different to the other one. To get this one, you've actually got to pull it out slightly to get to the part you need to change. And I did make a new piece of gear cable because the gear cable was absolutely mashed. So it's got a new inner, and I raided the parts bucket for a bit of outer that was spare. I put some bigger ferrules on to try and support it a bit more than those metal ones that were on that were really short. They are only plastic. Like I said, I'm not sure of the lifespan of these things because we might just decide that they're horrible. Can you see what I'm up to up there? Oh, we're well out of focus. Let me bring you back. Is that working? We're recording? Yeah, we're recording. Right, so all I've got to do is switch this bit round, do the same thing we did with the other ones, stick the new grips on. So a bit of la juice, and hopefully that will go on. Right, so all we're doing now is to tighten that up and slide that one across, which is a 5mm. I think we'd already established. Oh, everything's done up so tight on this bike. No need! You can see it's actually bending the housing. It's just so over tight. I tell you, 5 or 6 door handle tightness this needs to be, as if the resistance you'd expect on a normal door handle. Yeah, okay, I appreciate some of you might not have standard door handles. Still not playing. Come on, play, play, play. Get them at the same angle. I'll tell you what we did do. Why didn't you remind me? I'm never going to get that off now. I'm going to have to shoot some air down the back of that, I think. Oh well, at least you get to see a neat little trick if it works. Right, how to get grips off. Get your air compressor, and that's how you get a grip off. Because we forgot the little anti-friction washer. It was missing on the other side, but I think this side, given it's a little bit of a pain up the butt, we will put some more lube in there now. Blasted it all out. Oops. Tad overboard with that one. That's it. Done the same thing with that one, have we? No, that's okay. Right. Try and get these at roughly the same angle, and then when I put the so again, they don't need to be massively tight. And then when I slide these across, I'm looking for about the same gap. That's it. Just wind that up, and they should be about the same angle, and they are. Look at that. Good me, you know. I'm modest. Trouble is now this thing's been that sprained that you've almost got to do it up to get that tight to get it to grip properly. Right, so they are in. We need to get that down to its lowest setting because that's where it's at, and stick that in there and hope for the best. Right, so you're not going to get to see a lot with this bit, but the bit you need is under there, and I can't put you under there because you're going to get the light in your eyes behind you. So I could do with, if we're going to do this a bit more often, actually having some, that's it, I caught it. Yep, there's no more, didn't miss one. Right, so this was just a tad longer than the other one. So we'll work out where this is supposed to go. Alright, I can see it. Ah, right, I could have just left it where it was. There's no catcher on this. So normally with these you'd have a catcher on it. How can you see properly? Are you in focus as well? You made it, there we go. I much prefer that one. Now that to me looks like another 9mm. And also we need to make sure that that's wound in, because this one will be a pig. Tension on the bolts for the ratchet to work, and I can't hold this and put some tension on the I'm actually pretty sure that's supposed to go under there, you know. Let me sneak round to the other side. So I just walked in front of you for no reason there, didn't I? So actually, do you know what? That might have not been working very well because that was actually laced on the wrong side. Come on. So let's put a bit more of a slant on it now. I don't like the way it's leaning on the thing now, but no tension in that at all. You have to earn your keep, Mr. Adjuster. Right. Let's have a look at where we end up. God, this is awful. Oops, wrong one. It's pretty much where it should be. But as I suspected, we haven't got enough adjustment. So let me see if I can adjust something out of that, and if not we might have to. Right. No, not ratchet. Come on. No, that's too much. What am I to there? 2. So that's way, 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 way too high. So, that's not good. I think our starting position's wrong. So let's so this is this one. Right, let's wind that all the way in as well. Again. Yeah, I'm thinking that might be a little bit too far. Right, so we've got the first 2 done. Let me take some more slack out of that. We've actually got it into the first gear, but it's too high. And then oh, what happened there? Did I actually manage to pull that back? I did. Oh, that's almost impossible. I think that might need a bit more taken out of it. Sorry, I went a bit quiet there. I was trying to fathom out what's going on with this. It's it's awful. I am gonna put that back over the top of that, because that in itself is causing problems. It is having to reach too far to be able to do anything. So I'm just going to pass that over the... Right. Let me just adjust this back down again. And try again. Oh, that's gone straight up. Look at that. Yay! Cracked it. You know what? That's not bad. So that was a combination. I altered that. I put it around the back of that lip again, so it gave it more cantilever. Off camera, while I was switching the batteries, I actually shunted that round slightly more so I could drop it lower. So it gave me more play to catch the ratchet, because the problem was you were having to put too much effort onto here to catch the ratchet, to catch the detent to hold it in place. So, and that's actually changing up and down a lot nicer as well now. I mean, that's just gone straight up. Look at that puppy. We'll have them bananas. Right, so let me just check that that's not going to cause any problems when I... No, that's okay. Wow! You're going to love that, Phil. Right, we'll clip that, put the ends back on all the things. I've cut the ends off. The ones I have actually done. I've not done all of them. I suspect that's what that hook's there for. And button it up. I think that's a good one. All I've got to do now is just check that the headset's where it needs to be, and then I think we're possibly good to go with that. That looks... let me pan out of it, and I hate this autofocus. It's doing alright. That looks a million times better. Oh, it's nearly there. It's trying, bless it. It's very trying. I wonder if it'll let me change menu settings while we're actually filming. No. That would be too much to ask. You can adjust the autofocus. Jiggling the camera. That looks absolutely fan-flipping-tastic compared to what it did look. I am quite pleased with that, to be honest. Another one resurrected that would have been going to the scrap heap if it had gone to an LBS. That's a local bike store. Right, so you can watch me clip these off if you want and stick them on, and then we'll do a shutdown video for the owners and call that a wrap. What do we want? Ugh. was a bit horrid. Nothing to put on that one. I had a little plastic bag in here with a break-end ferrule on it. There we go, found you. The reason I know it's a break-end ferrule is because it's quite big, and I'm sick of it floating around here on its own. So first thing we're going to do is stick that on. There. Can you see what I'm up to? This is the thing that annoys me, that you've got to pass it through the hole to crimp it. Right, that's that one done. So I've just got to stick a gear one on that one. Do need to order some of these. So I think they are supposed to be gear ones, but you can get away with using them on brakes as well, because they do fit. That's that one done. Conk that out a bit so as it goes up it's not going to insert itself in the chain, because that's always not a good thing to happen. Like me spending about 10 minutes on a ride trying to work out why my rear mudguard was catching, only when I changed gear to realise it was actually my gear cable was rubbing on the thing as I indexed it across. Right, so I think we will call that one a wrap. That is done. I don't think there's anything else to do to this bike apart from just take it down and line that up, but you don't need to see me do that. Brakes are good, because they didn't work at all. Still a bit play in that back brake. I could do with just tightening up a tad. That's probably because we moved the brakes. That adjuster's a bit graunchy. That's good. Yeah, back brakes aren't brilliant. No, they're doing well enough though. Front brakes are good. They're definitely good. Nice crisp brake, and they are the original brake pads because I can see they say Shimano on them, and the chances of them saying Shimano on them if they weren't was 0. Gears are working. Tempt fate, and because every time I normally do a gear change for the final wind up, they never work. Get it down for that wind out. Whoa, and back up again. We'll have that. There you go. Right, so like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. As I say, it's not all bikes, there will be some other stuff. I think I've got some vacuum cleaners. There's at least 3 lawnmowers that need a service. I've got the strimmer and stuff that's in that corner down there that needs putting back together, and there's a whole load of car videos that still need to be done as well. But it just seems to be I'm getting a backlog of bikes. And I've still got my 2 to do over there, and I've still got to finish putting the my race bike back together again when I get the rest of the parts from the person who knocked me off it, who hasn't paid me the last instalment yet. Anyway, like and subscribe. Lockdown Workshop, another one saved. Boom. Catch you later. Job's a good one.